All right, today we're going to be converting rational numbers. This is video part 2. We will be converting from fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. So have your notes out and let's get started. When we go from fractions to decimals, we only need to divide the numerator by the denominator. Okay, so that's something that we've done before. All whole numbers will remain as the number before the decimal. All right, so we've actually done this before. Let's look at some other examples and you're going to see that we've done this before. Write 5/6 as a decimal. So remember, 5/6, our numerator is going to go inside. The denominator goes on the outside. We add our decimal point. Let's see if we can undo that. Okay, well, we're just going to go ahead and divide. So when we divide 5 by 6, we're going to add our 0. 6 does not go into 5, so we put our decimal point. 6 goes into 50 how many times? It's going to go 8 times. 6 times 8 is 48. We're going to go ahead and subtract. We've got to bring down our 0. We're going to add another 0 and bring it down. 6 goes into 20 how many times? It goes into 23 times. So we get another 2, add a 0, and we're going to see a pattern here that 6, we're going to keep getting 2 as a remainder. So when we have that repeating remainder, we can put the line over that digit and we would know that it's just going to keep going on and on forever. So 5/6 as a decimal would be 0.83 with the 3 repeating. Okay, so again, we have done this before. Let's look at another example. Write 1 3/8 as a decimal. So we have the 1 and we have the 3/8. Remember in our notes it says the whole number will remain. We're going to leave that number all by itself. Okay, we're going to leave that one separate. Let's just focus on the fraction, and we're going to divide the 3 divided by the 8. Okay, same thing. Place your decimal, and 8 does not go into 3, so we're going to add a 0. 8 goes into 30 how many times? 3 times, and that would be 24. We subtract, we get 6. We're going to have to add a 0, bring it down. 8 goes into 60 7 times, which is 56. We get 4 left over, add a 0, bring it down. 8 goes into 40 5 times exactly. So our decimal, just for the 3/8, remember the 3/8 is equal to the 0.375. But we were asked what is 1 3/8 equal to. So our final answer would be the 1 plus the 0.375. Okay? So don't forget those whole numbers after you divide your fractions out. All right, our next example is example C. When I went shopping, I bought 2 5/16 pounds of bananas. How many pounds of bananas did I buy written as a decimal? So pause your video here, try to work this problem out, and then unpause it when you're ready to check your answer. I have 2 5/16 pounds. Again, I'm going to leave that 2 alone. Okay, that 2 becomes my answer, a whole number in my answer. And I'm only going to focus on that fraction part. I'm going to put the 5 inside, the 16 on the outside, place my decimals. 16 goes into 50 how many times? It actually goes in, let's work it out just to make sure. 3 times. So 16 times 3 is 48. We subtract, add your 0, and bring it down. 16 goes into 20 once, with 4 left over. Add a 0, bring it down. 16 goes into 40 2 times, and that would be 32 with, I'm running out of room, I'm going to just take that right up here. With 8 left over, I'm going to bring down another 0, and 16 goes into 80 5 times exactly. Okay, so we place our 5, and we have 0 left over. Sorry, I ran out of room there. So remember, the 5/16, let's try this again. 5/16 is equal to that decimal here, okay? But our problem asked, how many pounds of bananas did I buy written as a decimal? We have that 2 out in front still. So it's going to be 2.3125. And that will be my final answer. Okay? So don't forget those whole numbers out front. All right. Example D, you're going to do on your own, and we will check our answer in class tomorrow. Flip your paper over, and we're going to continue working on decimals, converting from decimals to fractions now. So when we do that, we're going to merely, the easiest way is if you know your place values, you can just read the number with the correct place value, and it'll tell you how to write your fraction. Okay? So you're going to read the number with the correct place value, and it will tell you how to write your fraction. Then you have to reduce. Okay, now if you don't know your place values or it looks too confusing for you, the other option is to use the place value to determine what number becomes your denominator. So we're going to use the place value to determine what number becomes your denominator. Sorry, that barely fit for me. And then the numbers before your decimal become the whole numbers, and the fraction is the number after the decimal over the correct tens value. And then we'll still reduce if possible. So let's look at some examples of what that actually means. So the numbers before your decimal become the whole numbers, and the fraction is the number after the decimal over the correct tens value, and then reduce if possible. So let's look at some examples. If we have to change 1.8 to a fraction, 1.8 is also 1 and 8/10. So that 8/10 is pretty much telling you how to write the fraction. It would be 1 and 8/10. Okay? And then we would reduce from there. And we know that 8 and 10 are both even, so we would divide the top and bottom by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. And we still have that 1 there. Don't forget that 1. Okay? So 1 and 8/10 written as a fraction is 1 and 4/5. Okay? If we use the other option, we would do the same thing. We would have that 1 because it's a 1.8. And that 0.8 goes on top. Okay? But without the decimal, the number after, it says the number after the decimal goes over the correct tens value. So we put the 8 and it's one digit, so it gets 1 0. Okay? And then we would do the same thing and reduce. So this option will come in more handy when you don't know your place values as easily. Let's look at the next example. Change 2.002 to a fraction. So option 1 is, how do you say that with the correct tens value? 2 and 2 thousandths. 2 and 2 thousandths. Okay? So remember, this is your tens, your hundredths, and then your thousandths. So we would reduce that. They're both even. I'm going to divide by 2 on the top, and I get 1. If I divide by 2 on the bottom, I get 500. 2 and 1 500th is our answer on the bottom, is the answer here. Okay? If you don't know your place values, you do the same thing. You put the 2. What is the number after the decimal? The number after the decimal is 002, or just 2. Okay? And how many places did you move? 1, 2, 3. So we need 1, 2, 3 zeros with our 1. And we get the same thing. We'll have to reduce to the same number. All right, the next example. If you can drive 30.45 miles per gallon in your new car, what is your gas mileage written as a fraction? So pause your video, work this out, and unpause when you're ready to check your answer. So what we're going to do is 30.45, which is the same as 30 and 45 hundredths. Okay? If you don't know that this is 45 hundredths, you're going to do the 30, put the 45 on top. How many places past the decimal? 1, 2. So we get 2 zeros with the 1. Okay? And then we're going to have to simplify. These both will simplify by 5. Okay? This is divisible by 5, and this is divisible by 5. So divide by 5. We keep that 30. 45 divided by 5 was 9. 100 divided by 5 is 20. And that is your final answer. Okay, our last example is H, and you're going to do this one on your own, and we will check it in class tomorrow. Great job, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.